Get ready to sink your teeth into a story of betrayal, secrets, and a battle for the finger-licking legacy that swept the world. In this captivating video, we'll delve into the bitter legal feud of KFC's founder against the very company he created. Who would have thought that behind the iconic red and white stripes lies a tale of greed, deception, and corporate warfare? In this gripping journey, we'll explore the fascinating saga that rocked the fast food industry to its core. But what led to this epic clash, and how did it forever change the course of the Colonel's empire? Buckle up, because you're about to embark on a roller coaster ride that will leave you craving for more. KFC's founder versus KFC, the bitter legal feud that made headlines. From being the man of the house by the age of 6 to developing and selling the chicken recipe that would become the world's largest fast food chicken franchise at 40, Harland Sanders was an ambassador for the American dream. If that's the case, how did it all go wrong? This is a story that will leave you hungry for justice. Get ready for a deep dive into the dark world of the fast food industry, where the clash between a visionary founder and his own creation will have you questioning everything you thought you knew about KFC. Rough start. On September 9, 1890, Harland David Sanders was born on a farm in Henryville, Indiana. His father, Wilbur David, first worked on his 80-acre farm. Unfortunately, he broke his leg in a fall and couldn't do the farm work. Later on, he worked as a butcher. His mother, Margaret Ann Dunleavy, was a homemaker. Sanders was the oldest of 3 children born. At the age of just 5, Sanders had to face the death of his father. All the responsibility of earning money and taking care of the house went on the shoulders of his mother. His mother took a job peeling tomatoes in a canning factory. For some extra money, the mother even worked at night, sewing for nearby families. Sanders, being the oldest, took care of his siblings and cooked meals for them. During this stage of his life, he mastered the art of cooking. Little did he know that cooking skills will change his entire life. At the age of 10, Sanders got his first job on a nearby farm, although he was fired from the job since he spent all the time with the animals instead of doing the actual job. In 1902, Sanders' mother remarried a violent man named William Brodus, and the family moved to the suburbs outside of Indianapolis. Sanders had a terrible relationship with his stepfather. At the age of 12, he dropped out of 7th grade, later claiming that algebra's what drove me off, and lived and worked on a nearby farm. His failure story. In fact, holding on to a job was a struggle for the young colonel. His 20s and 30s were a string of failed jobs and unsuccessful business venture. He had a short-lived legal career, which ended swiftly after he got into a fight with his own client. He then had a job selling insurance, but was fried from that too. He launched his first startup at the age of 30, a ferryboat service over the Ohio River. Unfortunately, a bridge built nearby rendered his service useless. The KFC founder's 2 rules. The string of failure did nothing to deter Sanders' enthusiasm for hard work. He wrote in his autobiography, "I only had 2 rules. Do all you can and do the best you can." In 1927, Sanders took charge of Standard Oil gas station in Nicholasville, Kentucky. But with the slump of the Great Depression, he was forced to close in 1930. But despite its failure, the service station business was the acorn for the KFC empire. He opened his second service station the same year in Corbin, Kentucky, when he started selling his homemade chicken to truck drivers for a bit of extra cash. He didn't have a restaurant yet, so patrons ate from his own dining table in the station's humble living quarters. It was then that he invented what's called home meal replacement, selling complete meals to busy, time-strapped families. He called it Sunday dinner 7 days a week. As Sanders' fame grew, Governor Ruby Laffoon made him a Kentucky colonel in 1935 in recognition of his contributions to the state's cuisine. Within 4 years, his establishment was listed in Duncan Hines, Adventures in Good Eating. As more people started coming strictly for the food, he moved across the street to increase his capacity. Over the next decade, he perfected his secret blend of 11 herbs and spices and the basic cooking technique that's still used today. Birth of Kentucky Fried Chicken. As the popularity surrounding his chicken continued to skyrocket, Sanders began advertising his chicken recipe in 1952. In 1955, Sanders began traveling cross-country advertising his chicken recipe in various restaurants. A biography on Sanders revealed he negotiated deals with restaurants to be paid a nickel for every chicken sold. The Colonel's cooking spreads worldwide. In 1955, confident of the quality of his fried chicken, the Colonel devoted himself to developing his chicken franchising business. Less than 10 years later, Sanders had more than 600 KFC franchises in the US and Canada, and in 1964, he sold his interest in the US company for $2 million to a group of investors, including John Y. Brown Jr., who later became governor of Kentucky. Under the new owners, Kentucky Fried Chicken Corporation grew rapidly. It went public in 1966, was listed on the New York Stock Exchange in 1969, and eventually was acquired by PepsiCo Incorporated in 1986. In 1997, PepsiCo Incorporated spun off its quick service restaurants, including KFC, into an independent restaurant company, Tricon Global Restaurants Incorporated. Today, the restaurant company, now Yum Brands Incorporated, is the world's largest in terms of system units, with nearly 37,000 in more than 110 countries and territories. Sanders sold his company. John Y. Brown Jr., a 29-year-old lawyer, and Jack C. Macy wanted to buy Sanders' business. Since Sanders treated his business like his child, he declined the offer, although both Brown and Macy spent weeks convincing Sanders to sell his business. In 1964, at the age of 73, Sanders sold his company for $2 million on one condition. The condition was that John will never change the chicken recipe and maintain the highest quality of food control. John agreed to this condition, and in return, Sanders got a lifetime salary of $40,000, later upped to $75,000, majority ownership of KFC's Canadian franchises, and remained the brand ambassador and advisor to the company. Legal battle between Sanders and the new owners of KFC. In 1971, John sold the company to a giant food conglomerate, Horbline. Unlike John, the new owners changed the recipe since they felt that the old recipe was expensive and hard to make. They replaced it with a cheaper recipe that anyone could learn. After this, the quality of their product fell off so much that Sanders began to publicly criticize the food KFC was serving. When Sanders tasted the new recipe, he was furious. He opened his own competing restaurant named after his wife, Claudia Sanders, the Colonel's Lady Dinner House. Sanders reportedly called the chain's gravy slop and called the new owners a bunch of booze hounds. The new owners of KFC sued Sanders for opening a new restaurant under his own name. In retaliation, Sanders sued the new owners for misusing his name in selling products he didn't develop. Life under KFC. Horbline reportedly tried to block the plans of Sanders in opening a new restaurant, prompting Sanders to sue KFC for $122 million. Sanders and KFC reached a settlement in court, where he received $1 million and the opportunity to give Horbline executives a cooking lesson. In exchange, he had to promise to stop slandering KFC's food. Sanders continued his passion for fried chicken to his final days before he eventually succumbed to a bout of pneumonia in 1980 at the age of 90.
Good evening. Colonel Sanders didn't live to be 100 as he hoped, but his 90 years were filled with enough accomplishment for a couple of lifetimes. He died this morning at 7:40.
There's no reason to be the richest man in the cemetery. You can't do any business from there. He was once credited with saying, As we reach the end of our thrilling exploration into the bitter legal feud that rocked KFC's empire, we hope you've gained a newfound appreciation for the complexities behind the world's favorite fried chicken. From the iconic Colonel Sanders to the corporate battles that ensued, this story serves as a reminder that even the most successful brands are not immune to controversy and internal strife. But remember, this is just the tip of the iceberg. If you want to continue unraveling the captivating stories that shape our world, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and join our community. Thank you for joining us on this eye-opening journey. Stay tuned for more captivating videos that delve into the hidden stories that shape our culture, society, and the brands we know and love. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep feeding your curiosity.